If you're like me, your hips get super tight, and that can definitely impair your splits, straddles, and maintaining your form in the air. Hey there, I'm Elle, and I'm going to share some of my favorite hip opening exercises. Let's get started. We'll begin with a basic ballet warm-up, a bar exercise called bat mats. And to perform this exercise, simply straighten your leg and extend it upward like so. And what we're doing here is we're activating our sartorius muscle and the main muscles of the quadricep, specifically the vastus intermedius and the vastus lateralis. I recommend doing 5 forward and 5 to the side for each leg. Now, one thing that we want to keep in mind here is when we are lifting this leg upward, we are maintaining a tight core. Now, if you are struggling with maintaining your form, like we tend to hinge this way to lift our leg, we don't want to do that. We want to maintain that tight core, and we're really engaging those vastus muscles, essentially like a rope to squeeze and lift the leg upward. So if you struggle with this, grab a yoga block, place between your arm and your obliques, and this can help you avoid hinging. It limits your movement and forces you to engage this quadricep and sartorius muscles to perform the bat mat. So hopefully that can help. Then we'll do some back leg extension exercises. Here we are mostly activating the gluteus maximus and the hamstring. To an extent, we're also extending the quadriceps to achieve our final arabesque pose. So it's simply passe to arabesque and back. And then repeat this to the side. Passe to the side, extend the leg upward into a bat mat, return. Passe, extend leg upward, return to passe, and place your foot back down. Here's where it gets trickier. We're going to begin with our basic passe position and then extend our knee upward laterally and then push your leg up back into an arabesque, back down. Passe, raise the ankle and the knee, maintaining 90 degrees, and then push back. I know this is a bit hard to see what's happening here, but it's the same idea of that invisible rope lifting your limb upward rather than compressing or hinging it backward. Passe, don't lean forward to raise your leg, but rather engage that psoas. Think of that invisible rope lifting your leg upward. We're really engaging the vastus lateralis here. And use your gluteus medius and minimus to extend backward with that final pulse happening from your gluteus maximus. Alright, let's put the bar or chair away and come down to the floor for our kneeling lunges. Now what's crucial here is to maintain a 90-degree angle of your knee. So we're going to be moving forward, keeping those hips pointed straight forward. And as your hip loosens up, you may find you need to slide your foot forward a little bit more so that you don't go beyond that 90-degree angle. From here, we're going to maintain that kneeling lunge position and squeeze our quadriceps in order to straighten the back leg. Notice here that I am mostly engaging the quadricep, but I am also really squeezing my glutes to help lift the leg off the floor. It's okay if it's not perfectly straight. This is a toughie. So if you are struggling with this, go ahead and grab your yoga blocks. Place one on each side of your body. You may need to adjust the height a bit. I certainly did. The key here is to not push yourself up off the blocks, but just to kind of give yourself some support. We're still engaging those quadriceps and glutes to straighten the leg. Alright, also in any of these kneeling positions, maintain a tight core. Imagine that there is a rod up and down your back, so we're not going to dip our hips forward, and we're also not going to press up off our knee or hinge forward too much. I'm going to maintain a tight core throughout. Think of a line from your shoulders down over your butt, like so. From here, go ahead and just loosen up a bit. Do your lunge, come down to the floor. Just maintain a 90-degree angle on your knees. I like to come down to my elbow. And feel free to just sort of wiggle and loosen up those joints a bit. In most of these exercises, we do want those hips pointed straight forward, but if you're passively stretching, you can do a little wiggle. But for any exercise like the leg straightening one here, we want to maintain that complete straightforward position. Also, be mindful that your foot doesn't sickle. But then, when you're doing more passive, lizard type stretch, you can wiggle and extend a little bit, whatever feels good for you. Just also maintain that 90-degree angle in your knee, or slightly over 90 degrees, like so. Alright, let's move forward. So again, kneeling lunge, but here we're going to go into a pigeon pose, which is like so, where your knee is still at an angle, but laying flat on the floor. And work on just doing some basic push-up poses here. And the idea here is to kind of feel a stretch in your psoas and your vastus lateralis, and just sort of feel a bit more of a stretch than you would in just maintaining an isometric pigeon pose. If you're struggling with this, go ahead and grab those yoga blocks. If you need more of a stretch, you can actually put your foot on a yoga block, like so, and do your pigeon push-ups this way. Here you will need to maintain more of a tight core, same as you would for regular push-ups. But we're just sort of loosening up those hip joints there. You don't need to go too crazy here. Here's how all this looks from the other side. So, coming down to your pigeon position, again, drive that hip forward, so you're facing straight forward. Go ahead and do some of your push-ups here. And if you need your block, go ahead and grab that. I had to actually get back into it from this side, because this side is always tighter for me. Gently lower yourself down. Try your best to aim that hip forward. It's okay if it's not on the floor, it probably won't be, but do your best to maintain a hollow body position here as you perform this exercise. Alright, this exercise is called Bird Dog, funny name, and a bit of a funny feeling as well. It's a bit like our bar exercises, except it's from a kneeling position, and as you see, we're also raising our arm upward. So this is a little bit tricky, there's some weird muscles involved, but don't let your back dip down, that is a common mistake. So here we're activating our lumbar multifidus, basically our lower back muscles, and we're squeezing our gluteus maximus in order to raise that leg. On the other side of our body, we are engaging our trapezius and lats to lift that arm upward, but you're also working your triceps to maintain that straight arm position. So we're not having our arm hinge or bow outward. For an extra challenge, try this from a child's pose position. It is significantly harder, so keep that in mind. As with any of these exercises, we really want to maintain a hollow body position as much as possible. There will always be a slight curve in your back, but ideally we are not dipping our belly button down toward the floor. We're really thinking about engaging our lumbar multifidus and kind of compressing our abs so that we are maintaining a tight core as we perform this exercise. If you struggle with this, go ahead and grab that yoga block and use it to brace between the lower part of your butt and the lower part of your calf. And that tricks your body into avoiding bowing downward or hinging your pelvis forward in order to get the leg lift. Alright, next we'll do our clamshell exercise, and this is a fun and sexy exercise. And just as shown here, you are lying on your side. Try to press those hips forward so that your torso and thighs are in a relatively straight line. And then again, engage that psoas and gluteus medius and minimus in order to raise the leg upward. And you should just feel a gentle stretch on the inside of your thighs. Here's another fun one that I like to call Happy Seal. And this is just a great dual trigger point release and hip opening exercise. Simply place two yoga blocks together in a row, rest your hips on them, squeeze your butt to lift your legs upward, and the blocks will help open up those joints. You can also bend your knees here as well, engaging your glutes and your biceps femoris to bring your feet toward your head. Another option is to do your cobra stretch from this position to help open up your hips and back. If you need more of a hip opening stretch, begin from your seal pose, and then as you raise your legs, open up into that clamshell position. And here we are really working, again, our psoas, our vastus lateralis, and engaging all of our gluteus muscles to open up our hips as we raise our knees outward and upward. All right, now comes my favorite part, our wall stretches. One that I find really helpful is to place your feet up against the wall, like so, and then work on contracting your quads to bring your feet toward your head. You don't have as much distance to go, and so this is a more gentle hip activation and ab strengthening exercise. For an extra challenge, bring your feet toward your head and then back toward the wall, but hold before you actually touch the wall, and then return. So I really like doing bridge pose against the wall for a couple of reasons. First of all, it really forces you to be mindful of maintaining that tight core, because you will need to press up in such a way that you will achieve a straighter line, extending up the backs of your thighs, through the glutes, through the lumbar multifidus, and up into your shoulders. It's also good because this position helps blood flow towards your heart, so it's a bit more relaxing than the typical bridge pose, which can be challenging if you have tight hips because you really have to squeeze those glutes to lift the hips upward, especially if your sartorius and psoas are not already fairly loose. I also just find it to have a lot more pressure on my mid to upper back, whereas in this position, you can kind of give those a break and just work on engaging that lumbar multifidus to just help support your hips as they're doing this slight, gentle lifting motion. And there we have it. I hope you found these exercises helpful and that your tight hips are at least a little bit looser. If you liked this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Check me out on Instagram at @eclectica and join my Patreon for exclusive workout videos and tutorials. Train safe and stay awesome.